Trevor with the Handyman Gamer. I do have some hat head going on right now. With that said, today we're working on my '07 Trailblazer. I am changing out the thermostat. The process is very similar to get to the temperature sensor. With that said, I am not a professional. I'm not responsible for whatever you do with the information from this vehicle. Video I am doing. Do everything at your own risk. I say that multiple times, but I am not responsible for any damage, whether it's personal or to your vehicle or any other type that may happen if you decide to go about and do this. With that out of the way, I am replacing the thermostat. Some of the tools I am going to be using is a 8, 13, and 15 millimeter socket, 8, 13, and 15 millimeter wrench, and a 10 millimeter socket and 10 millimeter wrench as well. 3/8 socket and different extensions and a universal. First things first, when you're doing this, is for me anyhow, is safety. So I'm gonna make sure to try to do everything in the safest manner possible. With that said, I'm gonna hop into this. So to get started, fortunately my hands are limited. I'm going to have to remove this to get the battery out and remove the battery. I'm doing that to give myself a little bit more room and to make sure everything's disconnected. After that, I'm going to have to remove the alternator, which requires me to remove this bracket from what I can see. And then, as hard as it is to see, way back there, that little metal pipe you see down there that I'm kind of pointing to, that is your thermostat. See if I can get a better angle on that for you. Right there. So that is the game plan. I'm going to start by removing this bar, which by looking at it, let me check. Yep, that is a 10 millimeters, a little loose, but that mine looks a little rounded. So believe that's 10 millimeter. It might be a little smaller. I will inform you after I get removed. Okay, so there's a 10 millimeter here, 10 millimeter bolt there, and then there's a 10 millimeter nut right there. And this, you gotta wiggle it, just comes right off. Okay, so there's a 10 millimeter here, 10 millimeter bolt there, and then there's a 10 millimeter nut right there. And this, you gotta wiggle it, just comes right off. After that bar is out of the way, I just got to disconnect the battery, which takes an 8 millimeter back here. And then after I disconnect the battery, the plastic cover will come off. After I take this off, of course, gotta take this off and disconnect the battery. Plastic cover will come off, and then I will have, I believe there's a hold down, if I remember right, for the battery in there. Alright, got that disconnected. This just slides off. And the battery cover should, after we get this clip off, slide over. And this is hard to do with one hand, so I'm going to pause and come back. Alright, now that that's done, you can see that battery hold down right there that I got to take off. Which, if I remember right, I'm going to need, I think, a 13 millimeter deep well. So I can confirm that is a 13 millimeter that you'll need down there. I'm using deep well just so I can get to it easier. So, alright, now that we got the battery removed, I'm going to start taking apart this bracket. 15, 15, there's another 15 back there. This has a little plastic clip, and I want to say that's a 10. Let me just confirm here real quick. Yes, that is a 10 millimeter there. And that goes to your bracket that you're just going to move to the side. These two have to come off, that back one has to come off, and this has to come off, and that's going to give me access to the actual alternator. But before I do that, I'm actually going to get my 3/8 right down there on the left side of my engine and get that tensioner pushed on so I can get this belt off. So I'm going to need both hands for that, so I'll be back. Angle, but I got my 6-inch extension here, and I was able to get back behind it and onto that back bolt. What I had to do to get on this bottom bolt is use my universal, and then my 6-inch extension. That is where I needed the universal, and yeah, I was able to break it loose. So I'll come back to you when I get the alternator out. There is a screw on the back of the alternator I gotta take apart too that has a wire connected to it, and you have an actual plug in the back there. So all right, there's the nut, and here's the center. It plugs in the side. It's just a simple lift up block that I had to do there. I want to go ahead and take that off, get the alternator removed, and you can see now the thermostat and how much of a pain it is to get to. Okay, so I do have my pan underneath, but regardless of how you do this, everything down there is going to get soaked. So I want to unhook that hose. I'm not going to record this part because I gotta be quick. Take those 2 bolts out. There's one up here, one underneath. Remove that and put the new one in. Definitely the most difficult thing was that back bolt. For me, was kind of a pain in the butt. But the new one's in. I got the hose on. Gotta get the clamp pushed in yet, but that's all right. Now the process is just to get everything else swapped out. So let's get to it. Alright guys, I just finished putting it together. Just topped off the antifreeze. Gonna go start it. Let it open up and add some more antifreeze to it to fill it up, but this job is done. So yeah, so I have her running, and I can tell this pipe's hot. I reach back here carefully. I can feel this pipe's still cool, so it hasn't officially opened up yet. Before, my temperature wasn't getting above 100. Currently just under 210, and the heat's a lot better. But before, the heat wasn't getting on all the way. So now we just gotta wait and see. That said, my camera's about to die, so that's going to be the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Again, do anything and everything at your own discretion. This is just for knowledge purposes and learning purposes. This is not meant to be a how-to video. I do a lot of work on my cars myself, so if you have a 07 Trailblazer or one of a similar year with the inline 6, feel free to follow me, because I'm sure I'll have more videos come up in the future. Thank y'all and have a good one.